record. There we go.
KBN.
All right, here we go. Ooh, welcome everyone to another episode of Slasher Scotty. I am your host, Scotty McCoy, and boy, do I have a surprise for you. I have Ann Ryerson, who played Katie in Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Katie, she was a paintball company executive in the movie. Hi, Ann. How are you doing?
I'm very, very good. Thank you. And thank you for having me.
The
I
pleasure's
think
all
it was
mine.
30, I think it was 30 years ago we shot that movie, right?
About that, 30, 35, something like that.
Yeah, even more than 30.
Yep. Well, it's
So
funny because I just had on this past Friday, I had a Cindy Kenya on the show.
Cindy, what was her last name?
Kenya from she was in the movie as Annette.
You know, I have to tell you that in our scenes, they
Yep.
were very isolated. I think you know that. It was
Yep.
me and the three guys, Whitney and Matthew Faison and Alan Blumenthal.
Yep.
And we shot our scenes together, but we didn't get to interact with any of the other cast members. We never met
Really?
them or anything. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The way movies are shot, you do your scene, but you frequently don't get to see other people in the movie.
Right. Exactly. So the
Mhm.
first question I have for you is, how did you get your start into acting?
Oh my goodness. Well, that's a long story. I think that even as a child, I was a very good mimic. I could mimic
Nice.
my neighbors, which really made my mother laugh very heartily. And I could dance and I could sing and everything when I was very, very young. I grew up in a tiny suburb of Minneapolis,
Right.
Minnesota. And
Mhm.
I can remember we had an after school drama class, this was a long time ago, honey. And so I liked it. I liked the pretending you were old and shuffling along and all those things in that class.
Mhm.
And then once I was in sixth grade, I was already singing with my church choir. I was known as a singer, and I started doing more performing even locally. Um, I performed a lot, even all the way through high school. I was in plays and in musicals. I
Mhm.
sang with my church for years from the time I was probably
Nice.
10 until I was 18. So, all of those experiences for an
Mhm.
actor enrich you for when you begin it
Mhm.
professionally.
Mhm.
And when I finally began professionally was after college, because I
Mhm.
did go to college. I'm a journalism major.
Okay.
I'm a journalism major.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
Awesome.
but in college, I did take beginning acting, and I took some very
Mhm.
intense courses that I have to tell you changed my life.
Mhm.
They changed my life, the
Right.
courses in college. But I wasn't a professional actress until after I graduated college. And I went to see an improvisational theater in
Mhm.
Minneapolis. And I looked at what was going on stage and I thought, I could do that. I could do that.
That's
And
awesome.
not long after that, I auditioned. I got into a workshop, and then 3 weeks after that, I was on the main stage performing. So
Awesome.
I got in my start in Minneapolis, Minnesota, but
Mhm.
I had had lots of little experience, lots of them leading up
Nice.
to beginning a professional career.
That's awesome. That's cool.
I
So,
could say more, but
awesome. So, did you have an audition for Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives?
yes,
And
I
if
sure
so,
did.
and
I
what was
sure
it like? Well,
well,
the funny thing is, believe it or not, a lot of people they actually don't have auditions for some of the movies. Like, there's a couple people I interviewed that didn't have an audition; they were given the part.
well, and I believe it. I
Yeah.
remember very distinctly when my agent called me and said, there's an audition for a horror movie. Are you
Hmm.
interested? I said, well, sure,
Right.
sure. And I said, I can't remember if she told me anything about the part or not, but she
Hmm.
dropped the script off at my house. In those days, we didn't send them through computers. They
Right.
actually had a driver who dropped it off at your doorstep. And I read I'm trying to think, no, I might not have even had the script. I have to be honest. It was a long time ago. But I went to the interview. It wasn't too far from my house,
Mhm.
and I knew that it was a horror movie. But I think I actually only read the script when I was in the waiting room, waiting to audition. And I went into the audition, and I said to the people, I said, "Now, how do I die?" And they said, "It's a triple beheading." I said, "Oh, that's good. That's fine. That's okay." A triple beheading, yeah, that's no problem.
Nice.
And so, which they thought was very, very funny.
Yeah.
And paintballing, you know, I I really hadn't paintballed, even though later on my son became loved paintballing. But it wasn't, I was supposed to be a company exec on a
Right.
weekend retreat with my cohorts,
Right.
so in a certain way, it was a buddy scene, right? There wasn't,
Right.
yeah.
It was more of like because everybody was pissed off at you because you ended up and you were like the one
The
winning,
winner,
the
the winner.
winner. You were the winner, and they're like, and of course we have the misogynistic guy. Girl should be staying in the kitchen type of thing, and gets his comeuppance really quickly from Jason. And then you have the other two wearing the headband that says "dead" on it, and literally, it's gonna be happening.
Well, I think one of the fun things, I which I've talked about in the past, but is that I knew very little about Friday the 13th and the whole
Hmm.
franchise when I
Hmm.
auditioned. But Tom McLoughlin, who directed it,
Hmm.
knew my work and I knew him a little bit. So
Hmm.
we knew of each other.
Nice.
And when he cast those roles of me and the three guys,
Hmm.
we were more experienced actors already by that point.
Hmm.
I had probably
Right.
already been performing for I'd been a professional actress for about 12 years minimum,
Hmm.
minimum.
Okay.
And after talked about Minneapolis, but then where I performed for 9 months on the stage, doing 9 shows a week. You can do the math on that.
Oof.
And then I went to Chicago and I was in the second city and I did 8 shows a week for 2.5 years.
Wow.
So when you add that all together, I did 3 years of either 8 or 9 shows a
Right.
week.
A week for that many years. That's a lot of shows. That
That's
gives
a
you the experience.
Exactly. So by the time I was 26, I already had a lot of stage experience. And then in
Hmm.
Chicago, it was a very rich world for doing commercials at
Hmm.
that time. They didn't have a lot of well, and then I did a lot of live TV for PBS,
Hmm.
asking for money, and we did skits and things. So
Right.
Chicago is a good place to get a start as opposed to New
Right.
York or Los Angeles, I think. Because there was
Hmm.
again a lot of little stuff going on. So
Yeah.
I had a lot of experience in voiceover and I had a lot of experience on camera,
Hmm.
live TV.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
while
that's
I was
awesome.
in
S-
Chicago.
So speaking about your death scene, it was a triple decapitation, obviously. How was that? Obviously, like in the final cut of the movie, it wasn't as it was supposed to be filmed. What like they didn't show as much because the MPAA, cut a lot
I,
of it out.
that's interesting. You know that
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep. So how did they originally prep and film the death scene?
Well, we prep up to the moment of Jason with his,
Hmm.
the blade, and then they say cut.
Right.
And then probably if you look closely at the scene, you'll probably see it's either from Jason's viewpoint or another viewpoint.
Hmm.
And that's when they put the full body models up.
Okay.
And one of the funny things was not only did I not know much about Friday the 13th when I
Hmm.
auditioned, but Tom McLoughlin is a really great guy, by the way.
He
And
is. I
but
interviewed him.
oh, he's
He's a
so
great guy.
fabulous. Yeah, really, really a nice person.
Yes.
But I didn't realize that they were going to be making a full body cast of me.
Hmm.
And so I happened to go on a day to Paramount Studios. It was
Hmm.
very hot, and for some reason, the room was not air conditioned.
Ooh.
And they told me to wear a leotard. You know what a leotard is, a sleeve. So I had a sleeveless
Right.
leotard because they have to try to mimic your body as exact as they can.
Yeah.
The first thing they did was start covering my back in plaster. They do the back
Mhm,
from the neck down,
mhm.
and you've kind of got your arms out to the side, and they
Okay.
do the back with strips of, of wet, I want to say like paper mache, but it isn't paper mache, something that hardens into a mold. And then you lean back into the back, and then they start covering the front of you. And for some reason, I'm embarrassed to say it, I started getting really lightheaded, probably because I'd been on my feet for so long and it was
Mhm,
really hot in that room and they
mhm.
were encasing my body in plaster. And I said, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm going to, and I fainted. I fainted dead
Ooh.
away. And I came back encased in a complete body cast. You but luckily, I remembered pretty fast what was going on. But I mean, that would be yeah, it was like, what? Where am I? But they were so panicked that I had fainted. Oh my God, they were just like in a tizzy. But
Right.
it wasn't too bad. Once I came to it, it was pretty good.
That's
But
good.
yeah, just the blood went down, and you'd have to. You're
Right.
completely faced. So then they take a saw and they cut it in half so that you can get out of it.
Okay.
Right? That's what they
Wow.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a leg cast. If you've ever had a leg cast, then they cut it and
Yeah.
you have to, because then they open the half so you can get out,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
right?
Yep.
And then they gave us 2 buckets of goo,
Mhm.
and you stick your hand in the goo and leave it for about
Okay.
a minute or two, and then it starts to harden, and then you have to pull your hand out. There's a lot of suction. It's like, and then you do the other one.
Yep.
And then the last part is the head.
Oof.
And so, but now you're done with the other things, and now it's just the head. And so they started, I'm trying to think if they put anything in my nose at all, because I don't have really big nostrils, and they started to,
Right.
you start, first of all, you can't hear anything because they cover
Mhm.
your ears. You have to close your eyes and then you can't see anything. I
Mhm.
didn't care about any of those, I'm vaguely claustrophobic, but when they started to put the stuff on my nose, I felt like they
Mhm.
were pressing down and that I wasn't going to be able to breathe because they had my mouth covered too. You know
Right.
what I
Oh
mean?
boy.
So I
Yes.
started to,
Oh.
and I went, like Lurch or something. And Chewbacca. And they went, oh, all right, all right. And they started slapping it out. I could feel them. We'll do it as fast as we can. And so they finished with me, and it was 31 minutes it took from the beginning
Ooh.
to the end of that.
Wow.
So
31
so
minutes just for the head or for the head and the body?
just the head.
Just the head. Ooh.
31 minutes. So that just shows how much time and effort
Mhm.
went. That's just one body mold. And
Right.
and they had other body molds around, so you could see a lot of big stars. I think I recall them saying Michael Jackson had one, that a lot of stars like to keep their molds,
Right.
especially the head, right? I don't recall that they
There
offered.
is, I know there's a couple people from Friday the 13th that even keep their severed head. Like I know Ron Sloan from Part 5 kept his. He was
There you
riding
go.
his motorbike or whatever, and then while he's riding the motorbike, the machete comes out and he goes right into the machete. So
Oh,
he kept that head, and it's funny because the director Danny Steinman told Ron, he said, I don't, he goes, I don't care like when you have to fall out, what happens or anything or what you do to that bike, but that camera is about a what it was like $15,000 camera or something like that. He said if you ruin that camera, because the camera was like right on his head, like on the bike
yeah.
itself. So he said
Oh,
like when you
my.
crash it, you better crash it this way because if you break that camera, I'm breaking you.
I
So
listen, I understand. Ours was not so dangerous because,
yep.
but so the guys, got to had,
Hmm.
obviously everybody, they made our bodies. They have to match our skin tone too.
Hmm. Yep.
If you're a real lily white person, they don't want to give you, a
Darker
dark
skin,
skin.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So they matched us absolutely completely with our uniforms and everything. So, but it was more of a dangerous for the guys who were cutting the head off of the models because they
Mhm.
really kind of only had one take, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just say that that would be the big, and I can't, please forgive me, it's been so many years. I can't remember if they had blood, you know, packs in the
Right.
models. I would think they would have
I
had
would
to.
think so. I know it wasn't shown. It was even a shame they didn't even show the head when you fell. Like
I know. I
it
have to
was a
tell you,
shame.
after all that work, I felt so sorry for them because honestly, you just go, it's like boom and it's over. And I actually thought the part where the head rolled down was pretty cool. I have to tell you, I'm
Yeah.
not a real big, I'm not, as
Hmm.
into slasher as maybe some other
Right.
people. But I have to say, I thought the heads rolling down looked pretty darn cool.
I think it would have been a really cool, and I mean, I mean, you've seen plenty of decapitations in all types of horror and slasher movies, but how many triple decapitations do you get to
It
see in one scene?
very
And they ruined it
exact
by cutting it, they're not making it
exactly.
nearly as good as it could have been.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
and literally, I think they cut out like, it was originally like 4 seconds and they cut
Hmm.
it to like a second and a half.
Yeah, it's so sad.
And think of all the money that went into that. I do have to tell
Yep.
you one kind of interesting
Yeah, of
story,
course.
related to that modeling of the head,
Hmm.
is that I was in the movie Constantine, which stars
Hmm.
Keanu Reeves,
Okay.
right? And I played the demon woman. Am I being typecast? So, and as the demon woman, they had to make a mold of my head
Hmm.
again. So this time I said, I want to put a kazoo in my mouth, or I want to put something in my mouth to part my lips slightly, so because when you press down so heavily,
Hmm.
I feel like I
Yeah.
can't breathe. And it's not that comfortable to have a straw up your nose. But
Right.
anyway, so as it turns out, the guy who was doing my head mold was exactly the same guy who had done it 30 years earlier.
Ooh,
Yeah, and
nice.
he definitely remembered it. But they had gotten much better at it, much faster. I think it took them like
Nice.
20 minutes
That's
or 20.
awesome.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
was Tom McLoughlin in there when you were getting the casting made up?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not. It was
So it was
me and a guy.
okay. So it was basically somebody hired by Paramount that would basically, that's his job to make all the molds of the bodies and the
Oh
corpses
yeah,
and all that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The
Cool.
director doesn't really get himself involved in that, in the molding.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense though. So what was the best part about filming Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Lives, and what was the worst?
The best part was, so I was going to tell you this, that because,
Mhm.
let's say, it's hard for me to remember just how old I was, but, because what did we decide? It was 30,
30,
I think,
about 30 to 35, roughly.
yeah, I
It
think
came
it
out
was,
in 1986.
so that means it was probably shot in 1985. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Okay, so, when you think that I began my professional career in
Hmm.
1972, I'd been working about 13 years. So Tom McLoughlin wanted our scene shot the very first in the movie.
Hmm.
And the reason he did that is, I can't remember if it was the first movie he had ever directed, or, at least the first
Hmm.
one for the Friday the 13th franchise. And he wanted to be ahead of schedule,
Hmm.
not behind. He wanted the footage that was going back to the studios to look
Hmm.
really good. So he put the pros in the beginning.
Hmm.
And the three guys I was working with were major pros
Hmm.
also, all
That's
three of them.
awesome.
Yeah. So
That's
we
awesome.
shot the scene first. So we got there 2 days prior to filming
Hmm.
because we all wanted to make sure we were there, we were in place, and Tom McLoughlin wanted to go and do a rehearsal, because we had to
Hmm.
go to the forest to do it.
Right.
And so the guys and I rented a car. This was outside of Atlanta,
Hmm.
and we followed Sherman's March to the Sea in our car. We went on a road trip
Hmm.
for a day.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, that was like so crazy fun, really fun.
That is
And
very
I really,
fun.
and I'm still friends with the guys. I don't keep in tight touch with them,
Right.
but believe me, if I saw them,
That's
I mean, I've
awesome.
seen Alan Blumenfeld probably the most, but
Okay.
um,
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
they're really.
So what was the worst part about filming the franchise?
that I had to leave my two very young children.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I honestly, just to show you how few questions I asked when I
Yep.
auditioned, I thought it was being shot in a back lot in, Los Angeles, because I
Right.
had two little children. It was hard leaving the children,
Right.
but because they were young. The
Mhm.
whole experience was very pleasant, I have to tell you,
That's
as
good.
far oh, yeah, oh, yeah. We had so much fun. The 3 guys and I, we just had a ball. I can't remember that there was anything bad about it, honestly.
Right.
Tom was so happy to have us, and we
Mhm.
definitely did all of our stuff not only on time, but we
Right.
probably were ahead of schedule,
Right.
for what he had, because we rehearsed one day. So by the time we went in to shoot it, and this
Mhm.
is the first day of shooting, and don't forget the crew is all new also on that day.
Right.
So for Tom to establish his relationship with the crew, that's why he wanted experienced actors on that day,
Right.
because a lot of the people who are in the film obviously are much younger, right? Because
Right. Right.
the camp
Yep.
scenes and everything, right?
Yep. And I think this is the first and only Friday the 13th film to ever actually have kids at the camp, like actual kids,
Ooh,
which is
ooh.
really cool. It's a nice touch.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So, but I have to tell you something, just, and I hope those of you who love slasher movies forgive me
Hmm.
for this, but when we went to the screening of the
Hmm.
film, and we're in the first 40 minutes, the guys and
Right.
I, right? And there's the fun part where he's coming out of I love the opening of
Right.
that film. It's really fun.
Yep. Yes.
But about 40 minutes in, they're at the camp, and I'm just terrible. I can't watch violence. So I'm finding that I'm looking down all the time. I'm looking down, I'm looking at, and I finally said to my husband, we're paying a babysitter and I'm watching my crotch here. We might as I'm just looking down at my crotch. I said, really, we might as well go home because I'm not going to be able to watch any of the rest of this. So we
Right.
snuck out, but the
Okay.
director saw us and he called me and said, did you not like it? I said, oh, Tom, forgive me. I'm so sorry. I
Right.
loved the beginning, but I just couldn't watch the end. And I had two little kids at home. Yeah.
Right. Did you ever watch the movie in its entirety though at all? Never?
So
Wow.
forgive me,
No,
forgive
it's
me.
fine. I mean, a lot of people don't like horror and slasher movies, even if they're in it. Like, there's a couple of people I have interviewed that aren't fans of the movies, and like even people that I've interviewed that they only watched the one they were in, and they never seen any of the others, and they never watched the one they were in again because they're not a fan of it. Like they're just, some people are in it to, either collect a paycheck. Other people are in it to, because it's fun to make, but they can't watch it when it's put together because it's literally put together. You're watching a movie now. You're not making one.
I was
Big
thinking
difference.
about this last night because I knew we were going to have our interview today. And I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking about the fact that probably, especially when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
to be an actor or an
Yep.
actress, you have to be somewhat fragile. You
Right.
have to be very sensitive to your environment and
Mm-hmm.
and very empathetic to other people.
Mm-hmm.
When other people are hurt, I feel it. I literally viscerally feel it.
Right.
And so I have to be a little careful of myself,
Yep.
because now other people, they can watch that
Mm-hmm.
stuff, they're laughing, they're eating, Cheetos and just
Right.
having a ball, right? And I get that.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I'm so sorry, but I'm just not one of those
And that
people.
makes sense. I mean, a lot of everybody is now. Did your kids ever see the movie?
Oh,
They
no. Oh,
never.
well, you know what? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. That's not fair
Okay.
to say,
Yeah.
because they might have seen certainly the beginning of it. But I do have to tell you, I've done a lot of things that you're certainly
Right.
welcome to IMDb me, Ann
Yep.
Ryerson. But I have gotten more fan mail from the Friday the 13th movie
Nice.
than anything I've ever done. Anything.
That's awesome. A lot of
Yeah.
people say that. A
Do
lot of
they?
people, say that, ones that I've interviewed, like they said they can't believe like they did this one movie and they never thought 35 years later they're still getting fan mail, wanting autographs and wanting pictures, and even like interviewing, like you're interviewed with me,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
things like that, and they can't believe it 35 years later, and this franchise it's got a huge following.
Absolutely. Well, and I still get written fan mail about it even now. Not a lot,
Nice.
but I get a couple.
Nice.
I always, some actors and actresses, bless them, everybody has their own style, but
Right.
I do answer every single one, and I
That's
do
awesome.
sign things that people ask me to, and I send about that. Now I'll probably get like 4,000 because I'm saying this, but but I always do, and I've done another interview on camera. I think when they had maybe the 25th anniversary of
Okay.
yeah, or
Yes.
something. I did a
I think it was either the 25th. It might have been Crystal Lake Memories. I seen that. I don't know if you were in
yes,
that.
yes,
That was it.
that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
no, the second thing that I've gotten the most fan
Hmm.
mail about is I did a TV series called Private Benjamin.
Okay.
And I did the TV series Private Benjamin before I did Friday the
Right.
13th part 6. And
Okay.
I did used to get, and it was a series, so it was on
Right.
quite a bit. So I did get quite a bit of
Okay.
fan mail from that,
Awesome.
mainly from prisons. I said, I'm popular in prisons. Isn't that good to know? Isn't that good to know?
Isn't that
Which,
flattering? Yeah, you have all these
yeah,
inmates writing you.
but again, I really did try. Most times I did. I think I always sent something back because,
Right.
again, there for the grace of God go I. Right? You got you
Right.
as we all have to be empathetic. To
Exactly.
everybody's plot in life.
Exactly. So what was your most memorable moment filming Friday the 13th part 6?
Well, probably it was being in that forest because
Yeah.
I actually had to do some paintball shooting. Right?
Right. Was it real paintballs?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was really kind of
Nice.
fun. I
That is
enjoyed it.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah, we really did paintball shooting. Um, I don't remember that I shot at the guys. I seem to recall that I was shooting at the trees, but I got pretty good at it, I have to say,
Right.
because yeah, yeah, I'll just say that.
It's ironic though, because you mentioned that your son got into paintballing, and the funny fact is you were playing a paintball. Did he know that at the time?
You know, Probably not. I'll have to tell him that. You know what? Thank you for saying that. I'm going to tell him tonight. I'll brag a little
Sounds
bit.
good. You have to email me his response.
Oh, in fact, he got really good at paintballing, and
That's
he
awesome.
was a teenager, so I'd always have to drive he and his friends there, and I'd
Right.
hang out and watch it. It's fun to watch.
It is.
I remember that sometimes they would say that we really stung when it hit.
Right.
Right?
Right. Exactly.
Are
So
you a paintballer?
I'm not a paintballer. My
Oh,
cousin is, but I'm not a paintballer. Yeah, I'm not much of a. I'm an Eagle Scout, and I did shoot like a shotgun and a rifle and all that. But like, I'm not really. I don't do much with guns and everything like that. Like I don't own any. Like I'm not into any of that stuff. Like I'm not. I don't know. I don't hunt. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm more of a. See, like my full time job is I'm a senior web developer for the United States Coast Guard.
wow,
Yep.
cool. And by the way, congratulations on being an Eagle Scout.
Thank
That
you.
is not
Thank
easy.
you. And I
That's
just got
special.
notified that we have 10 minutes left and the room is
Oh,
going to end. So just to let you
oh,
know.
oh,
Yep.
okay. All right. All right. What
Yep.
happened?
I just got the notification. Apparently there's a 40-minute time limit or whatever.
Oh,
I have a
okay.
free
All right.
account. It's stupid.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I do. I chose to go the $15 a month one. You can go.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
something I might have to do, especially if I have multiple ones, because if you have multiple like people, then they usually get the 40. I don't know why I don't know if they changed something or what's going on and why they have me down to 40 minutes now with
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yes.
good. The other thing that I have a distinct memory
Mhm.
of on that shoot, besides the fact that we went to Joel Chandler's house and we went,
Right.
you could get a cotton plant and stuff in Georgia.
Right.
And I remember going into a little store and getting a peanut bar with chocolate goobers, some
Hmm.
sort of
Right.
special that they have down there. But the motel was really fun too. You have to
That's awesome.
understand when you're on set,
Yeah.
and especially you're on location,
Yeah.
it is fun. It is
Right.
fun. I mean, there's
Yep.
probably some people who don't think it's fun.
Yep.
I thought it was
Right. And
fun.
you were, I
I'm a
think, filming
party
in
girl.
Georgia, right?
It was right outside of Atlanta.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you're a party person, those sets are fun
I was
because
in my college days.
yeah, and I
Yep.
I like the guys. The guys are
Right.
really fun too. They were
Yep.
fun. So they were up for, no, I don't, did we go to a club? We might have even gone to a club. We went out to dinner. We
That's
hung out
awesome.
for a couple of days. We really hung out a lot, and we used to be in touch,
Right.
like I said, quite a bit when we first came back. And
Mhm.
I still, Alan Blumenfeld does a lot of live theater in Los Angeles.
Right.
So I've seen him in quite a few things. He's a very good
That's
actor.
awesome. That's awesome. So how many days were you on set?
On set, literally, I think 2.
Nice.
Yeah, because
So,
I think we did the rehearsal day
right.
and then the shooting day. It might have been a rehearsal and 2 day shooting. Definitely no more than that
Right.
because again, Tom
Yeah.
wanted to be ahead of schedule, ahead of,
Right. It
not
makes sense. That's what a good director does. He doesn't rush things, but he wants to be proficient and get things done as quick as possible as well without having to rush into it.
well, also if something went wrong later in
Yep.
the film,
He has the budget to bring his back.
he
Yep.
has the time and he
And the
has
time
the
in there, yeah.
leeway, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah, which was very
Exactly.
smart of him.
It really is. It really is. So the last question I got for you is, do you have any projects, social media, websites, or anything else you'd like to promote to the fans?
Oh, you're so cute. Um,
Well, thank you.
I think Coast Guard, I like those. Well, I'm a member of 2 theater groups here in Los Angeles.
Okay.
I read plays for playwrights every Monday night.
Okay.
My group is called Fierce Backbone. So
Mhm.
I do read new plays, and I'm
Right.
also a member of Theater 40. So I do live shows and I do play readings. I
Awesome.
think the best way to, I think people, if they're interested in my career, which you don't have to be, don't feel bad if you are. Look up IMDb because
Yep.
they have little clips of things I've done.
Yep.
I've done some fun things.
Awesome.
I've done over 100
Yep.
appearances on
And
television.
that's how I got in touch with your agent. I believe it was your agent. And then she put me in touch with you
Yeah,
through IMDb. I got
yeah,
got your information off that.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's because right now, filming is happening. Like, and by the way, give me a 1-minute warning or go or something if I'm talking too long because it's going
We
to
have
go.
about maybe I'd say 4 minutes left.
Oh, okay, all right,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. But now I
Rough
forgot.
rough estimate.
Okay. Now I forgot what I was telling you though. Sorry. I forgot
But no, that's fine. So yeah, like she was saying.
I know what I
Yep.
was going to say.
Yep.
So,
IMDb.
well, no, I was going to say in Los Angeles right
Oh yeah.
now, soap operas are shooting.
Mm-hmm.
They are
Yep.
in a few commercials. I don't do commercials anymore.
Okay.
I'm old enough now. Sorry, I've got my acting pensions. I don't do commercials anymore.
Right.
But movies and television are not still shooting too much yet. And
Right.
live theater will be the last thing to come back because the spoken word, you have to speak loud and
Right.
project your voice. People are close together, you
Yep.
know. But I haven't shot anything.
Right.
So I
Makes
haven't shot.
sense. Well,
Yeah.
I thank you for joining me.
Well,
I
thank
truly
you.
appreciate it. I wish we had more time, but the time limit is almost up, or I would definitely be continuing this conversation. I do
Oh,
appreciate it.
oh, thank you,
No
Scotty, and
problem.
to all your fans. I think it's just.
Thank you.
I'm glad they have fun. Like I said, eating
Yep.
cheers and laughing and go, yeah, and all that. I,
Exactly.
I know. I think it's really great
Yep.
that people get such enjoyment out of.
Exactly. And I agree too. Before I let you go, I just want to say subscribe to me on YouTube, / Scotty. It's a new YouTube count. So there's not that many fans. Subscribers yet on that one. So give me a subscription. You'll see all my interviews on there. And also, if you want to listen to the audio, you can listen on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, OpenBox, Castbox, Wooshka, Anchor, and a dozen others.
Whoa. Well,
So
can you definitely email me
I
the link
definitely
to
will. I'll email
YouTube?
you once I get these uploaded. I'll send you an email with all the links to your interview, and you can listen to any other ones that are on there as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. I want to see the
Yep,
rest of the interviews too.
definitely. I
Okay.
can
All right.
send you the Anchor link. I have them all on there. They're all in, and even the Apple Podcast. I can send you all of that.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
No, thank you,
Yep,
Scotty.
no problem. You have a good rest of your
And
day.
to all